You're listening to the Plantbased, Not Perfect podcast, where we talk about striving for our healthiest selves while living in the real world. So, let's get into it. Welcome to episode number 33. Today's topic is focused on weight loss, and it is the top question I receive, so I wanted to share my stance on achieving weight loss on a plant-based diet with research, tips, and tricks to help you. While I don't have a crazy weight loss before and after photo to share, what I can share is that after eating whole food plant-based for over 5 years now, I discovered it about 7 years ago, I am more toned and lean naturally than I was then. So thanks to a plant-based diet, I want to share what I have learned along the way with you to help you achieve your fittest and healthiest self possible. I'm not into diets or being super strict with my lifestyle, which is how I came up with plant-based, not perfect, because it isn't about being perfect. It's about trying to make your healthiest choices you can based on your circumstances as much as possible, but allowing for some leniency to enjoy life. And that is why I personally don't take supplements that lead to weight loss. I don't take any kind of weight loss teas or anything that's marketed towards weight loss. It's so much simpler than that, which is why, ironically, I believe so many people get confused about how it's possible to stay lean and lose weight when you're eating a ton of fruits and carbohydrates, but you can, and I'm going to explain how. So the first thing we need to talk about when thinking about weight loss, and this might be a new concept to you listening, so I'm going to try to explain this as best that I can, but essentially what we need to think about is energy. And with energy, we need to think about its importance in achieving health and weight loss. The more energy we have, the better we feel and look. So what takes up energy? One of the number one things that can affect energy is digestion. If we can free up energy in our bodies that's being spent digesting food that we're constantly eating and mixing foods that don't really pair well together, that energy could be being spent in other parts of our body, such as clearing out toxins. And that is essentially the simplest way I can explain of how we need to look at freeing up energy. I really love Kimberly Snyder and her analogy she uses in the Beauty Detox Solution, which I will link to for you guys, is an analogy of a wheel. And what she says is when we're young, the wheel rolls along easily no matter what we're doing and what we're eating. But over time, as we accumulate more and more toxins, pollution, preservatives from our food, additives, medications, and everything, waste begins to build up and clog the wheel. So the wheel slows down and it becomes harder and harder as we get older to lose weight or maintain a naturally lean weight or have high energy. And I used to think about this all the time because in college I was a nanny and I watched 4 little kids, and one of the boys was 8 years old and the other boy was 4 years old, and they were just the skinniest little things you've ever seen, and they ate like complete crap. Their parents fed them complete garbage, and I always thought to myself, wow, they're so skinny. And I never really thought about it again, but as I've learned this kind of concept, and you think about when you're young and you can kind of eat whatever you want and it doesn't really affect you. And I think about even when I was in high school, I used to call it the pizza diet, and it wasn't a diet, but basically I just ate pizza and french fries every day. And I maintained my weight. I definitely wasn't lean, and I wouldn't call myself thin, but I was naturally, a healthy weight, and I ate pretty much whatever I wanted. I moved, moderately, not a lot. And then as you get older, you question why it's so much harder and harder to lose weight and get rid of those pesky 5 pounds. A lot of people ask me that question of how to lose those last 5 pounds. So the best way for me to explain it to you is to think of how much energy your body is using up to be digesting what you're putting in it when it could be used on other things like weight loss. So I really think that this is one of the most interesting things that I've learned in all of my research. And what I wanted to share is the more efficiently we can digest our foods, then the more energy the body has to clean out old toxins. So you'll start moving the wheel along once again. And then as more time goes on and you're eating really healthy plant-based foods, it's going to just move more easily, and it's going to get you in a constant state of cleaning out waste, which then provides us with renewed energy, and that will help us achieve weight loss, clear skin, and reverse the signs of aging. So to aid our digestion and achieve freed up energy, there's a few things that we need to do on a daily basis. And these are basically the foundational elements that I live by every single day. And the first one is eat alkaline. So an acidic body holds on to excess weight because our eliminative organs are overloaded, and it leads to the acidic waste being stored in fatty tissue. So the more toxins we consume, the more our fat cells expand to store the toxins. And since our bodies are always detoxing, the waste can then get pushed away from the organs, and it collects in problem areas that we're all familiar with. So I think this is a very interesting tip right here to take in, and I'm going to read off some of the top alkaline foods and then some of the top acidic foods, because sometimes people think foods that have an acidic taste, like lemons, are an acidic food, but they're not, because once they go into your system and they're broken down, they're highly alkaline, as are all fruits and vegetables. They're all alkaline in your body. So the top very alkaline foods are ripe fruits, greens, sprouts, you know how much I love my sprouts, and other vegetables. Okay, so now I'm going to explain what very acidic foods are. So animal protein is highly acidic, artificial sweeteners, alcohol, caffeine, I'm still working on that one, dairy products, drugs such as antibiotics and steroids, processed foods, refined sugar, soda, and nicotine. And I will post this chart in the show notes and on my blog so you guys can have it and maybe print it out if you're interested in that. But what we want to do is make sure that the bulk of the foods that we are consuming are alkaline foods. So that kind of goes hand in hand with all the other topics that I've been sharing on the podcast of limiting your alcohol intake. I've been sharing on Instagram how I've been trying to limit my coffee intake and switching over to matcha. And I want to do a whole podcast on coffee because I find it very interesting. And essentially, the best way to help our digestion and then free up energy is to make sure that we're primarily getting all of our foods from alkaline sources, not acidic sources. So what we want to aim for, and I've talked about this in depth before, sometimes I'm 80-20, sometimes I'm 90-10. It just depends if I'm really motivated by a podcast I listen to or a book I'm reading and I'm really eating 90% alkaline and 10% acidic, which I just want to say it takes a long time to get there, and it's not something that happens overnight. If you have listened to my transitionary story into eating plant-based, when I first went plant-based, I went from 0 to 100 eating a standard American diet one day, and then the next day all I ate was fruits and some vegetables, and I had no energy. I would feel really lightheaded. I couldn't even go for a walk without feeling kind of ill because I became super strict right away because I was just so passionate about what I had learned, and I wasn't consuming enough calories, first of all. And also, I believe that my body was undergoing just a shock and starting to clean things out. And actually, you can feel kind of physically ill when you go through that type of cleansing process. So I certainly don't recommend doing it in a day like that. And that's why I think it's great to aim for an 80-20 ratio. So you want to be sure that you're eating alkaline, whole, plant-based foods 80% of the time. And then 20% of the time can be acid-forming foods. So if you want to drink wine, if you want to have animal protein from time to time, those would fall into your 20% of the time. So when you're eating whole plant-based foods, they digest the easiest, they cleanse toxins out of your system. And when you're eating that way 80 to 90% of the time, you're going to stay naturally lean anyways. So this is really a conversation for those who are first getting into the plant-based diet, or maybe you've just switched over and you're not quite eating whole plant-based, you're eating more processed packaged foods or processed vegan foods, which are definitely not going to help you lose weight. So I'm going to get into that shortly. But whenever I review people's daily intake of food and they tell me that they're eating plant-based, I like to see the times they're eating, the order that they're eating the foods in, and then exactly what it is they are eating. Because a lot of times I see processed food, and while they aren't terribly processed, they are still processed, which can be holding you back from weight loss. And these are the types of things like crackers and certain breads and bars, oats, if they're not gluten-free, can affect some people and cause bloating. Pastas, not everyone does well eating avocado toast every day and pasta for dinner. You know, I personally can eat potatoes every single night and feel fine, but my husband can't. And I think it really depends on the individual person. It also depends where you are on your health journey. If you just switched over and you haven't gone through the whole cleansing process, if maybe you struggle with yeast overgrowth or candida. I've talked about this in depth before, but you could start eating fruit and get really bloated afterwards. And it's not because of the fruit, it's because of what's happening in your gut. So if you are looking for weight loss and you're eating plant-based, but you're eating a lot of packaged foods, which are still clean and they are alkaline to a point, but they might not be the best for weight loss. So you need to really take a look at what it is you're eating, and as well as the order that you're eating the foods in. So that brings me to the next tip, which is eating lighter to heavier. So the order of the way that you eat foods can really help with avoiding digestive issues and can lead to optimal weight loss. So you want to start with fruit in the morning. They say to start it on an empty stomach. I personally think it depends on your digestive system. I don't have a problem if I have coffee first and then I have fruit, or if I want acai first and then I have fruit. So it really depends on you and how you feel, but generally you want to eat lighter to heavier. So that means you want fruits first, and then you want to move on in the afternoon to greens. So have a really big salad for lunch and add whatever it is that you love best on top of it. And then you want to move over to vegetables, then to starches, and then to protein. So if you're still eating animal protein, you don't want to have it at lunch because the animal protein takes longer to digest in your system than vegetables and fruit. So if you eat that for lunch and then later in the day you have some fruit, it's going to sit on top of the meat in your system that's still digesting, and that can cause you digestive issues and bloating. So that's why you want to try to stick to this order and see how you feel. Again, I don't believe in being 100% strict. I think it really depends if you experience bloating or digestive issues, and then you can maybe know how you can fix that by going by this order of eating lighter to heavier. So you certainly want to keep your heaviest meal for the nighttime, because you're going to go to sleep and you're going to have at least, hopefully, 8 hours for your body to digest that meal. And I've talked about this before, but one of the big, people call it food combining, food pairing, but if you experience digestive issues, then after you have dinner, if you have an animal protein, you definitely do not want fruit afterwards, because that's going to cause digestive issues, like I said, because the fruit sits on top of the meat that hasn't digested and then it ferments there. And that's why sometimes you'll get a really big belly and look like you have a food baby. And that's typically why. So you want to stay clear of that, which will help you digest your food easier. And like I said, going back to my first point, if you are eating lighter to heavier, you're going to have an ideal digestive process going on, which will help free up energy to aid your body in taking care of other issues and helping you with weight loss. So I wanted to give an example of how I eat typically during the day of light to heavy. And I try to share this on my Instagram, but if you have additional questions, feel free to let me know. But as you know, I have my lean green smoothie when I break my fast around 10:30 a.m. whenever I'm feeling hungry. After that, I have fruit until lunchtime if I'm hungry, and I just eat fruit until I'm full. So in regards to talking about weight loss, when you're eating whole food, plant-based, there is no need to count calories or macros, whatever that is. I don't really know because I don't count anything. And I hope that if you are interested in following these tips and tricks, it can also give you food freedom, that you don't feel like you need to count anything, because when you're eating foods in their natural state, you can eat in abundance and you don't have to count anything. So that's one of the best parts of eating this way. And I get a lot of questions about that, and I don't count anything. I just eat until I'm full. And then around 1:30, I have my lunch. I've really been trying, so the last year, I really added the lean green smoothie into my daily routine every day. And then I've really been trying to add greens to my lunch, because I used to be more of a soup person, which I still believe is very good for you if you're doing a vegetable soup for lunch. But I wanted to try to really up my intake of greens, because I didn't feel like I was really eating any. So I try my best to have a salad for lunch to make sure I'm getting my greens. Lately, I've been doing a beet salad. So I get those beets that are already made and I put them over a salad. I add avocado for a healthy fat, and that helps make it really filling. And that's been my lunch lately. And I'll do tomatoes and whatever else you guys like to add into your salads. Or you could do a no tuna salad over greens. That would be something that's really filling as well. Or a quinoa salad is extremely filling and gives you all of your protein, and it's not heavy, and it would be a good lunch option. And then I used to snack a lot just to snack. I don't know if I was really that hungry. But now my lunch is usually so filling that I'm not hungry again until dinner time. If I am hungry in the afternoon, I will do sliced up veggies, or I'll bring dates to work and I'll eat a couple dates and have a cup of tea. And that usually helps keep me satiated. And also if I'm hungry at work, I'll just drink a lot of water, because sometimes I think it's because we're dehydrated than actually being hungry, or you get kind of bored at work, and that can be part of it too. The next tip I wanted to give, I spoke about this briefly, is to avoid excessive snacking. Try to make your meals satiating enough that they keep you full all day long. And if you must snack, try to keep it neutral. And when I say neutral, I mean alkaline with veggies or fruit, depending what you had for lunch and depending how your body breaks down fruit. The next tip I wanted to talk about is something I share a lot, and if you haven't heard it, you might find it a little odd, but basically it is keeping your lifestyle low to no oils. So for weight loss, fats should be limited. Oils are processed, they're extremely dense, and they're loaded with calories, which can add to weight gain. Cooked oil is one of the most fattening, aging, and acid-forming foods we can have, and they lead to weight gain. So you really want to limit your oils of all kinds. Every oil, doesn't matter if it's avocado oil, hemp oil. They do say that coconut oil is better to cook with because of the smoke point that it reaches. Dependent on how strict you want to be and where you are on your journey. If you're trying to lose weight, I personally would cut out as much oil as possible, and I would cut out nuts and seeds and nut butters to an extreme. So if you're eating a handful of them, that's fine. But if you're eating, let's say you're putting peanut butter in your smoothie in the morning, and then for your snack during the day, you're putting peanut butter on apples. And then for dessert, you're doing peanut butter in the date bites, let's say. That's a lot of fats that you're having during your day. You really want to be getting your fats from things more like avocado. Definitely put that in your lunch. I would add that in for sure because that's a really healthy fat. And I'm not saying that nuts and seeds are not a healthy fat, but it's typically that we don't just eat a little handful of them. A lot of us sit there and eat like a whole bag, or we eat them really frequently, and that can lead to weight gain. So this episode is for people who are interested in weight loss. So my tips for that are cutting out oil, cutting out nuts and seeds, and see how you feel. See if it works for you. And I think that's a very big tip that not everybody talks about. So I get asked also how often I eat the date bites from my ebook, which have peanut butter in them, or you can put whatever butters you like. And honestly, I only eat them once a week. So I don't eat date bites every single day just because, one, I don't crave them every day. And two, like I said, I don't think it's good for us to be having almond butter or peanut butter every single day. It's more, in my mind, of a treat than an everyday, food group. It is processed. So when you think about it, really think about what processing the food went through to get to you in its packaging. If it isn't packaged, then it didn't really go through much. And those are the foods that you really want to be focusing your diet on. So avocados are an ideal source of healthy fat to consume every day. I have pretty much like one avocado a day. And then if you are going to eat nuts and seeds, make sure to soak them before. So if you're making your own almond milk, or if you're doing like a vegan cheese that's based out of nuts or seeds, make sure to soak them, and that removes their inhibitor enzymes, which can cause issues with digestion. So that is a tip that I wanted to share as well. The next tip I have is one that I've talked about a lot, which is time-restricted fasting. I have an entire podcast episode on fasting, so please go back and check that one out for all the details. But to summarize, for weight loss, time-restricted fasting has shown amazing benefits as well as improving our overall longevity. Dr. Walter Longo, who's a longevity specialist, recommends to aim for a 12-hour fast. So I stop eating around 8, 9 p.m. and then I have my lean green smoothie around 10 a.m. in the morning. Again, I am not super strict about this. I just eat when I get hungry, but he says that the ideal window that he has seen after studying this for 25 years is a 12-hour fast. So fasting is heavily linked with achieving weight loss. So I definitely wanted to mention that today as well. But if you want more details and have more questions on fasting, make sure to check out my podcast episode on that where I break all of it down. The next tip I wanted to speak about is movement. So I have spoken about why I have incorporated more movement into my life over the last year or two. And exercise just has so many benefits for our heart health, our brain health. There's a lot of studies linking exercise to helping patients with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I have spoken about previously exercise assisting with depression. But exercising can actually add years to your life. In a study, which I will link in the show notes, results showed that regular activity accounted for significantly longer telomeres in US adults. So telomeres are the end caps to our DNA, and they've actually seen through different things, and one of them is exercising, that you can actually lengthen your telomeres, which means you can add years to your life. So not only should we want to be incorporating exercise to achieve longevity, but it definitely will help with weight loss as well. And I get many questions about which workouts to do for weight loss. And my personal opinion, if you are trying to lose weight, is that I would aim for high intensity interval training workouts at least 3 times a week to be able to shed weight and see changes in your body. And then I'd pair them along with other more moderate workouts like yoga or walking, and just try to make sure you're getting movement every single day. And that's going to aid you in so many benefits, not only weight loss, but your heart, your brain. If you're feeling sad or depressed, it will help you with that too. And it's going to help all of us live longer. So that's definitely something that I've been trying to focus on more myself. For a while, I was just eating whole food, plant-based, but I really wasn't working out that much. And I felt like I needed to challenge myself, and that I'm never going to be as young and as in shape as I am right now. And I need to take the steps to make sure that I'm living my best life and my healthiest life. And I want to look my best for as long as possible. And that is really what motivated me to start moving more. It wasn't being pushed by weight loss. It was more about all the other benefits and just the fact that I can, and to be grateful for the healthy body that I have and to actually be using it. So for me, if you've been following my journey along the way, I've definitely stepped up my game. I've been doing yoga once or twice a week. I started doing solid core, which is very intense. I do that once a week, and then I do Melissa Wood Health at least 3 times a week. So I'm trying to work out 5 to 6 days a week, which as before, I wasn't working out at all. So I feel like I've come a really long way, and it definitely has helped me in so many ways, just have more energy in general. I think it's also helped me just be a more motivated person overall. I wake up earlier now. I enjoy moving. So I think that movement is really one of the biggest things. But if you are trying to achieve weight loss, I personally would do a more high intensity workout to be able to see weight loss benefits. So the last thing I wanted to speak about today in regards to weight loss is finding your why, writing it down, and reminding yourself of that every day. So my why of why I live plant-based, not perfect, is for my health and wanting to be my healthiest self possible. And that really fuels me and drives me every day to help make healthy decisions. And if you have a why, remind yourself of it each morning when you wake up, or put it in your journal, and that's going to help you set the tone for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, and keep you on track to making healthier decisions. I feel like our mindset is so important and how we speak to ourselves. And if you don't believe that you'll lose weight, then you won't. And if you talk badly to yourself about yourself, it's not going to help you achieve what you're wanting to achieve. So we have to work on changing how we speak to ourselves and how we envision ourselves so we can work towards that life that we want. So when I write in my journal, some of the things that I write down about what I want to visualize is being my healthiest, fittest self. And that is how I see myself. And I believe that through all of the healthy habits and my routines that I've incorporated, that now I am that person. I have become that person. And every day that's the person that I strive to be. And it just really helps shift your mindset and get you in that mode every single day. And then when you're in settings of choosing what to eat, it will help you make healthier decisions. So before I end today's podcast, I wanted to share some information that I have found out about spirulina. I see so many people using spirulina in their smoothies, and I wanted to share what I found when researching it myself and why I personally don't take it. So there have been a lot of studies and stories popping up over the years linking spirulina to toxin contamination, as spirulina is scraped off open lakes and can be affected by other algae in the water that is contaminated. A 2011 study analyzed 13 commercially distributed algae products and found harmful toxins in all of them. Most of the companies who provide spirulina don't do a third-party testing, so they cannot say with 100% certainty that there's no toxins in their product. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. And what's more, spirulina is growing in water with high concentrations of mercury and lead, and it absorbs these heavy metals, and these can lead to liver damage. And contaminated spirulina can cause nausea, vomiting, rapid heartbeat, shock, and even worse. So I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling this to you to be informed and educated, because nowadays I feel like there's so many health and wellness supplements on the market. It's almost overwhelming. We're buying all of these powders to give us different things, but if you're eating a plant-based whole foods diet, you're going to get those from the foods. You don't need them from supplements. So if you are taking spirulina, you want to ensure that you're buying it from a reputable company who maybe says they do test their spirulina. I would research that, and that it's organic, non-GMO, etc. Don't just order the cheapest spirulina off Amazon or the ones you've seen at Home Goods, because I've seen those too. I personally get my energy from my lean green smoothie every morning, and there's no spirulina in it. So for now, until other studies come out, I'm skipping the spirulina. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope that that helps anyone who is kind of wondering about it, because I found that super interesting. So as always, feel free to message me on Instagram with any thoughts, comments, or suggestions that you have. I love getting your messages of what's resonating with you on this podcast, or any topics that you would like to hear in the future. Talk to you guys later, and have a great Monday. Bye.